Rồi, ngon lành. Vô.
Big devastating plays, anything ranging from ball talent.
Quên tắt cái game đi.
Yeah, now Fr0zen, he has no 2-mana play. He could
Chúng ta sẽ có một trận giữa Fr0zen và XHope.
That strands pretty much the rest of his hand. I would not be surprised to see him just use his Shattered Pain here on the Tunnel Trog. He may think that if his opponent had a Totem Golem, perhaps he might have played the Totem Golem.
Tôi chưa ăn gì luôn nè.
So his usage of Shattered Pain won't be particularly demanded in the next few turns.
Yeah, you know, Fr0zen might be even thinking about the long game. If he wants to play the value oriented.
Ok, chúng ta sẽ có rồi lại là Dragon Bridge với lại Jessamine, cái kèo này nữa. Kèo này thì nói chung Dragon nó sẽ hơn một chút, nhỉnh hơn một chút. Ok. Ok, mọi người giúp tôi share cái này để cho những người mà đang cần coi giải vô coi nha các bạn ơi.
If he were to just say go here, just use his hero power, that's pretty bad. And yeah, he's going to go ahead and just fire off the Shattered Pain. If he had used his coin to play Blackwing Technician, his only real play in hand that turn would be Shattered Pain anyway.
Right.
So here he decides to just use it right away.
Yeah, makes sense. You know,
XHope suy nghĩ lâu dã man không?
Doesn't really have much else. He didn't have Totem Golem, another candidate for Shattered Pain along with Brand Bronzebeard. This around kind of mana slot that you'd be careful around to you waste the Shattered Pain, but it's not going to work out for him.
Yeah, now XHope's real decision is between using his hero power to generate a totem and play tunnel.
Các bạn kèo này các bạn bắt ai? XHope hay là Fr0zen?
Powerful, so it essentially just be a 1/3 at least for the first.
Tôi thì tôi không có vote cho Fr0zen nhưng mà tôi bắt ít tôi bắt XHope. Ý tôi bắt Fr0zen á.
Immediate impact right now, but it will set him up better for future turns.
Tôi thì tôi không có bắt cái thằng
highest win rate in the tournament. I do think it's partially because only a third of the field.
Tại tôi không chung quần què lắm. Tôi thích Mỹ. Tôi chọn Fr0zen.
Warrior is the class that has been banned by far the most. Oh, is this actually?
Yeah,
we have a little bit of a.
We track some of the stats ourselves.
Yeah, we're looking at this. we have this disconnect between the stats on the screen and the stats we have in front of us.
It might not have some of the most recent results at the end of yesterday, because by our metric, Warrior has slightly above 50% win rate at the tournament. But we'll go ahead and verify that as the turns continue to develop and the day unfolds. For now, checking back into the game, seemed like XHope.
Ủa sao mà nói gì ta?
Decent hand here. He's got Eye of Black Paul to really continue to Jade, and I think that was a big concern because his hand didn't seem to be actually full of any substance besides that Jade Spear.
Yeah, and just sort of going back to what we were just talking about, he did choose to use his.
Thì bây giờ hiện tại nó đang là Fr0zen đánh với lại XHope đó, thì sau trận này là sẽ có thêm một trận nữa. Bây giờ tôi chỉ có một cái màn hình duy nhất nên chỉ có thể livestream cho các bác xem chứ không có coi được, không có làm gì được khác hết. Bớt hàng Mỹ to dài dùm, suy nghĩ toàn phim heo không dễ thím. Chúng ta nên tập trung coi giải với được các bạn phim heo đây ha.
A little bit underrated by the tournament scene right now. I feel like a lot of people have dropped Shaman altogether as a class. For example, Fr0zen didn't even run Shaman or Warrior.
Đang định post cái video kia lên cho các bạn xem mà hiện tại giờ livestream mà nên chưa post được.
Shaman dropped off from being the single most played and
con đồng 56 nó báo ha. Theo tôi nó báo quá.
Nice discover from Fr0zen there, finding a Brand Bronzebeard from XHope's deck, giving him access to additional bonus battle cry effects.
Ok, 56 35 ở trên bàn đây là 232 211. Vào cái kiếm. Có thể hết cái con 56 lại xong rồi chay thôi. Chay 2 con minion và cái kiếm rồi lên cái tô tâm. Chứ hiện tại nếu mà nó mà hú đam thì phí lắm, đúng không? Thời điểm ban đầu này hú đam nên là mất cái hú phí. Cái con 56 hả? Tôi nghĩ là để 5 năm thì được. Để 5 năm đẹp rồi. 5 mana 5 năm discover đẹp.
Overstated buffed minions that can get really taken down a peg by default.
Chứ 5 mana mà 56 thì thấy báo quá.
It's interesting because XHope seems to have designed this mid-range Jade Shaman to set control. You don't always see Bloodlust in some of these deck lists. He feels like it's one of the
Các bác hỏi ai có muốn coi thì share cái video này, share cái đường livestream này cho cái bạn nào muốn xem cái ấy nha, xem cái giải nha. Nhiều người đang bị lắc á, không coi được. Nên share cái này cho mọi người coi để không có bị lắc.
But he's conceding that he's going to lose the board if his opponent has a Blackwing Corruptor. Fr0zen was almost instantly going to play it, but he
Tôi đã bụng quá. Chắc để coi hết trận này sẽ đi bớt mà.
Yeah, Fr0zen's other options would be a Twilight Guardian without a dragon. That's not really a terribly attractive option.
Ok, tên thứ 6 thể Aya luôn cũng được, hoặc là dùng cái con kia giật điện chết rồi gọi cái totem. Ok, giật điện chết rồi totem. Hoặc là Aya. Ok, quyết định Aya. Nó chỉ có 2 option thôi, tại vì cách đánh thì cũng có nhiều đó, có 2 cái lựa chọn thôi. Tại vì nó đang muốn nhiều minion hơn trên bàn nên nó có thể là dùng Aya để control board tốt.
Is the 6/6. If they've used Shadow Word Deaths already, because there's a lot of other targets you might want to use it on, Think from Below, Aya, Blackpaw. And then the Jades start also getting out of range of Dragonfire Potion. It can get really complicated.
Yeah, and XHope has managed to ramp up his Jades fairly quickly. Aya, of course, does that quite well by herself, effectively upping your Jade count by 2 once the time she dies. And yeah, that Jade Lightning will represent a 5/5, or Aya's Death Rattle will represent a 5/5, and then there's still a lot of Jade generating cards left in XHope's deck.
So it looked like Fr0zen was originally gearing up for an opportunity to utilize Brand Bronzebeard maybe for big tempo, but it seems like he has a couple other lines he can explore here.
I mean, there's even some argument to just trade into Aya and play the Dragonfire Potion, but I don't think that'll be his choice. There's a lot of other possibilities available to him here. And yeah, we'll just be dropping the Twilight Guardian and playing Shadow Word Pain. XHope would have to have, say, a Flame Tongue Totem in order to get through this.
Nãy tôi thấy có nhiều người nói là cái đang coi giải mà lắc quá không coi được á, mọi người share cái này cho những người nào muốn coi. Giùm tôi nha.
In XHope's hand, so he has a good chance that this board
ok, năm 3
XHope, and it looks like it does.
Yeah, I actually really like
năm
this very subtle trade
here
from Fr0zen. It does a lot of things. First, it deactivates Flame Totem from being stronger.
Không có đủ làm gì hết. Chay thì cũng chưa đủ để giết được con rồng nữa. Còn cái tỷ lệ mà gọi totem á, gọi totem là ra 4 totem, mà nếu mà ra totem điện á thì totem mà cộng spell á thì rất có 25% thôi. Hiện tại chưa có totem là trên bàn hết. Ấy con rồng thì sẽ rất là phế. Tại tên sao sẽ bị chay rất là dễ.
It doesn't have exactly the most optimal removal lineup right here.
And that's one of the most important
hoặc là nó có thể gọi rồng luôn. Hoặc là chích chết con năm 3 xong rồi để nguyên con đó rồi gọi tôi tâm thôi để nguyên luôn.
Only killed an already damaged minion and prevents XHope from getting any good attack off this turn. That was an excellent turn for Fr0zen. And now he could even potentially use this turn to Dragonfire Potion with the minion in play and kill the 5/5 that comes off of Aya if he attacks it with his Twilight Guardian.
Yeah, it is a really clean kill. I do think Fr0zen has to be aware also of a potential swing turn. His opponent's totemed a lot. So one thing that he also could be aware of is Think from Below, because one of the big things that you have to be aware of when you're playing against these kind of mid-range forms of Shaman is that they're looking for decisive swing turns where they take the board and never let it go, and Think from Below allows them to do that.
And XHope has already invested a copy of Hex earlier on the Dragonet Operative, so Fr0zen can have some assurance that, say he plays Bran into Cabal Talon Priest and buffs up a taunt, that taunt has a very good chance of living. But if it does get hexed, things could go south very quickly for Fr0zen if he does invest that much in a single play.
Giờ nó có thể dục cái bình lửa, Dragon xuống để dọn hết nguyên đám luôn. Tại vì nó chay với lại con 53 thì sẽ lòi ra con 55, dục cái bình lửa thì sẽ hết. Nhưng mà nó không muốn chay luôn. Thật sự nó không muốn chay luôn.
Holding his brand, this does give him the
Devo.
This gives him the opportunity to potentially brand plus Azure
Devo bà con ơi.
He invested a lot in those minions, and that devolve will make them much worse.
Devo ngon ngọt luôn.
A lot of health reduction essentially. The follow up on this is no Lightning Storm or AoE. It could have been ultra devastating. But yeah, Fr0zen's hand is kind of low impact right now. He's got Dragonfire Potion, but it's not exactly the best case scenario. And also XHope has Azure Drake, so if he ends up developing behind this, it'll be kind of a struggle for Fr0zen to climb back.
Yeah, this is a really bad board swing for Fr0zen here. He lost so much of his not just value, but just immediate board presence here. And XHope, he can clear off these. He can actually just start going face if he wants. The damage matters quite a bit, given that he has Bloodlust in his hand. And as you mentioned, Azure Drake is a possible play for XHope this turn. He could also Jinyu.
Hôm nay nhiều thấy mọi người im lặng dữ nha.
4/4 Jade Golem. Alongside the tunnel charges he chooses to do.
Thấy coi không thấy nói gì hết.
This does give maybe a Dragonfire Potion window to Fr0zen, but as you mentioned, there's a lot of powerful swing opportunities for XHope's deck with 2 copies of Jade Chieftain, those things from below. Yeah, and Fr0zen decides, okay, I can't deal
bây giờ
with
tụi nó
this
sử dụng đó
board
đi
as
vô
it
rất là
stands,
nhiều
and
vô những cái deck này để trị nhiều lá lắm, trị nhiều deck lắm.
Yeah, as we mentioned, XHope does have those things from below, so Azure Drake's going to dig for a little bit deeper. I think that is one of his high priority draws.
That's kind of a bad draw for XHope right now.
Yeah.
Unless he finds another Jade or another Azure Drake.
Bây giờ nó có thể
he does
gọi Tô Tâm.
know that
Gọi Tô Tâm.
Fr0zen is pretty low
Rồi Tâm
on
rồi,
his ability to have board swings now that he's
chơi con 2-3 cũng được, hoặc là nó 2 giờ thắng mà. Tên sau thì tôi nghĩ là Fr0zen nó sẽ dùng Ron Bia với lại con rồng để draw 2 card á. Có thể thôi, tôi nghĩ là vậy. Draw 2 card trên tay thì cũng có lợi hơn. Bây giờ nó thật sự nó cũng
There are a handful of Jade cards though that he still hasn't picked up. Jade Chieftain, a Jade Spirit could use that second pair.
Nó có thể dùng nó Ron Bia xong mọi con rồng để draw 2 card.
Brand and Azure Drake for Fr0zen, so trying to get back in this board a bit.
Yeah.
But only 1 mana left over, so he is not able to play anything to protect this board.
Alright, XHope picks up thing from below.
Vậy thôi. Vậy thôi tôi khỏi nói gì nha. Đi bới cơm ăn à.
He's digging deeper and deeper into the hat.
Để khỏi bình luận nữa, khỏi mệt.
Yeah, he's talking. You see his lips are moving there as he's.
Tôi chưa ăn gì á, tại vì tôi muốn livestream liền để cho các anh em xem để nó không bị kiểu như là miss cái thông tin hay là miss cái trận đấu á. Thôi bây giờ tôi đi bới cơm ăn cái nha.
I wonder if it ends up being the case where Fr0zen does understand Chinese. He does speak it, to a certain amount of fluency where he can have conversations. So, some of these players when they play Hearthstone, they talk a lot to themselves, and because you're sitting so close, it's not that you'll hear them, but maybe you can read some of the words that they're saying with their lips movements. So, XHope trying to conceal that with his hat, as looks like he's pretty much dedicated to somehow figuring out a way to swing the board here, maybe even utilize thing from below.
And this was not as powerful a turn as XHope was hoping for here. He does get the thing from below down, but there is a death waiting in Fr0zen's hand.
Yeah, that death has lined up with the stars for Fr0zen right now.
I expect we'll see. Yeah, he has double cleric. He's going to heal his opponent's Azure Drake, which you can still trade into, but this will be a double card draw for Fr0zen here off of these 2 clerics. And if he can keep these in play, it can be extremely powerful. Still no dragon though. He invested that Azure Drake. Off of the brand for the double card draw. So his Wormrust Agent and his Blackwing Corruptor are inactive at the moment, but he has 2 Northshire Clerics against an opponent who has a Healing Stream Totem in play. That has the potential to get really far out of hand.
If you're XHope, would you think about Bloodlust clearing? Okay, maybe not, but it was one of those interesting things to think about, just for a second.
I think you could easily think about Flame Tongue plus Jade Lightning clear.
Yeah.
Bloodlust, probably.
I don't know.
It is worth considering because this is a resource war. Fr0zen is clearly low on cards, and if XHope is unlikely to get to a position where he has a huge board and just Bloodlust kills at sort of this stage of the game, it's more important that he starves Fr0zen of resources than that he has that remaining in his hand to threaten a powerful lethal attack later.
Yeah, and with 1 Shadow Word Death being utilized already, the Jades here start to get really problematic. I think this is a 6/6. Usually when you Jade Lightning a 1-mana minion or a 2-mana minion, you're feeling pretty terrible because you lose the investment of tempo, but your Jades have ramped up so much that now it's a pretty significant impact.
And also, XHope has a pretty good idea of the possible contents of Fr0zen's hand. That Worm Rust agent without a buff leads him to realize that there's no dragons in Fr0zen's hand. So at worst, he has some cards that require dragons to activate, and he is going to go with Bloodlust. He's going to decide to hold on to this Jade Lightning.
Yeah, even holding on to the Jade Lightning.
Interesting. He decides to invest the Bran now. This is an unusual choice to me, because the Bran right now doesn't really represent much of a threat. Yes, he can draw, say, Jade Chieftain next turn, but this is so powerful with any of his Jade generating cards and doesn't really do that much on the board. It's just going to die now.
That was a huge punish here.
Yeah, XHope was hoping that there was no ability for Fr0zen to interact with that, but he got really, really, unfortunately punished, as you mentioned, by that combination.
Well, he wants Jade Lightning to be just higher value of tempos. I think he's trying to maximize his resource, saying, I don't have many cards left, and I'm just going to try to, leverage my board as best as I can, try to get value off Healing Totem, try to see if he can get Bran preemptively on the board so he can even contest things like the Worm Rust agent.
But he wasn't even setting up for Bran into anything right now. And Bran is, this is clearly a game that is very much about attrition. Fr0zen's so low on cards, and if he's able to get Bran on any Jade, the Dragonfire Potion is already gone. His Jades are 5, or even 6/6, sorry, 7/7.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And now Fr0zen might be able to punish. He gets an opportunity to pick Draconet Operative, Twilight Guardian, or the Crusher. Operative has been an MVP card for Priest. Hex available? Manatee Totem? Probably Hex.
I think it's got to be Hex at this point. There's a 6/6 on the other side of the board. You have no way to protect the Totem. And this does give Fr0zen a way to deal with this 6/6, and suddenly he is the one with the lone large minion on the board.
Yeah, now he's got to weigh what this Worm Rust agent attacks. Disabling Totem so your opponent can't really capitalize. Disabling spell damage, but you give your opponent a card. I think the Thanos might be too threatening, though, because you really want this this Operative to survive.
Yeah. The worst case scenario...
wow. Well, another big card here. Big Bios.
The worst case scenario, leaving up the Blood Mage, is that your opponent has a AoE effect, and there's Jade Claws. If there was just still a Bran in the hand, this would be a absolutely enormous tempo swing.
Game over.
And instead, it's just a single minion, which potentially Fr0zen has the ability to keep up with.
Yeah, the 2 times Jade Claws here.
It's still powerful. It is still quite powerful because Jade Claws gives him the ability to combo with this board to kill the Operative. He can attack all of the minions in the play. We noticed that he uses hero power first. That was because he does not want to get a Sealing Totem.
Damn.
He wanted to get a Stoneclaw Totem if possible to protect his Flame Tongue Totem.
And, Fr0zen's still kind of straggling here. Even if he did have a dragon, his Bookworm is not exactly that good on the board right now. Defender of Argus. Man, if he had a dragon, he could snipe the Flame Tongue Totem and taunt up to try to complicate the board, but looks like Fr0zen's just a little bit too far behind, and the Jades have now gotten to a...
Vừa lấy tô cơm điện nước đầy đủ, ok, giờ quay lại.
Still picks up, Jade Spirit and Jade Chieftain. He still can just...
Các bác nào ăn cơm chưa? Bác nào chưa ăn cơm ăn đi nha. Để hơi hò kiệt sức.
To draw anything more powerful than this. He's very much in the driver's seat here. Fr0zen doesn't have the ability to get through even just the thing from below with these 2 minions buffed by Defender of Argus. There's an absolutely dominant board position from XHope. He can use either of his minions to clear the Worm Rust agent, and it is just getting worse for Fr0zen as Jade Spirit comes down.
Yeah, and so, at this point, Fr0zen might have to hope that he can just get out of jail free card through Netherspite Historian discovering Deathwing or something equivalent to that.
That's almost the position that Fr0zen is in right now. It may be, in fact, literally his only out.
Fr0zen trận này thọt rồi.
At best, he can draw an Operative.
Kèo thắng cho thằng Jack cao lắm.
Storm, but these minions are too big for XHope. The Devolve's already gone, and even devolving an 8/8.
Nhìn cũng biết là cũng muốn sắp rồi đó. Jack mà tới 7/7 rồi, thôi thấy nát rồi.
Yeah, you're right. You might be right. I'm still looking at the list. There's a lot of air that he can draw. He can draw some pretty weak.
Đâu còn đường nào đánh đâu.
He can pick
Giờ
up
đặt lên cái nó phơi thẳng mặt nát.
that wouldn't do anything.
Nó phải thắng mặt hơi cũng đủ nát nữa.
He's going to start pushing aggressively in the next couple turns and put his opponent on a very small clock here.
Fr0zen's dead next turn.
Fr0zen needs to draw well off this power word shield.
Đúng rồi, bình thường thì Dragon nó kẹp trên, tại nó đang nhanh hơn.
Still looks like not going to be enough. Is there enough damage just straight out on the board here for XHope?
There's 22 even with the heal. I believe he is still dead. Yeah, Fr0zen realizes it. Game number 1 goes to XHope, and we were talking about how this is an important matchup for Fr0zen because Fr0zen recognized this Dragon Priest against XHope's lineup is his weak link. It is a deck that is potentially vulnerable to all of the decks in XHope's lineup.
Yeah, you know, we know Dragon Priest against Arena Warlock can get complicated too for the Priest. Needs to get a win against either Freeze Mage or Miracle. Alright, well, XHope is currently up 1-0 and looks like
chúng ta vẫn còn cơ hội mà, Fr0zen vẫn còn cơ hội.
That one turn with the Brand Bronzebeard still a little bit of a question mark, but
một game chả thi nhê gì. Hôm qua 3v 2 game đầu tiên còn quay được mà, lo gì?
For his hero powers or something other line that we weren't thinking of, Brian?
Yeah, I think that he wanted to just get it on the board and have some side of presence to maybe attack into minions that Fr0zen might play. I still think that the value of that card with any Jade generator at that point in the game, given the fact that he was under no pressure, it was just worth protecting in his hand. But ended up, you know, still being able to just have single Jades and be enough to win the game.
Yeah, maybe the hat actually is good luck as he's able to close it out with his Jade train. We're going to start game 2 in just a sec here when we get to know XHope and why he really likes his hat specifically.
My hat is very important.
Cái thằng này nó bị bệnh hay sao? Lúc nào nó cũng cầm cái nón nó hửi vậy?
I'm looking for some card. My hat will help
Nó không hiểu luôn á.
XHope from China up against Russia Stanu.
Thằng này lúc nào không thấy cầm cái nón nó hửi á, hình như là nó bị bệnh hay gì á.
My hat didn't do his best to help me.
You can see the nervous chewing of the hat has come out again.
I tried to awaken him, but the result was not so good.
XHope is well and truly dead.
So during my second match, I just put my hat on the table. I'm not ignoring it. I told my hat, just look at me. I'm going to win this match. You take a good rest.
XHope goes 3-0 up versus B787.
My next match, I will talk to my hat again. But for today, I just leave my hat on my bed and told him to relax.
Are you gonna tell him or I will?
Dude, I don't speak hat. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I don't either. I am not the hat whisperer, but XHope, he's clearly got some connection with that hat. And you know, and all jokes aside, some people, they really have these rituals that they really go through. Maybe not necessarily because they feel like it proves luck, but because it helps them gain composure. You know, some people without, you know, maybe it's a
ring,
cũng rất là tốt. If they're married, if they're
thua 0-2 trước nhưng mà không bị tâm lý, quay lại rất là ngon. Chỉ tiếc là cái game thứ 7 là cái game hơi bị đen thôi. Babel hơi bị đen. Vì Medical rút hôm qua được mấy con tàu. Gặp thêm một cái vấn nạn nữa là nó chơi cái Divo xong là thấy nguyên bàn nát rồi.
It's kind of got me into the zone, as it were. And you know, I didn't really
have
any songs that were sung by hats. Maybe I needed. Maybe it was a Harry Potter song somewhere with the sorting.
Như bạn thấy không?
That was after my time anyway.
Babel á.
I'm curious about.
Nó quay trở lại mấy game đánh rất là bình tĩnh, đánh đúng ghê luôn á, đúng đẳng cấp khác không?
Take a look at the highlights from the previous game number 1 here. As we get ready for game number 2, just waiting for the players to get started. This is one of the turns.
Thằng đó lúc nào cũng cầm cái mũ nó hửi á. Bệnh thiệt. Cái này giờ tôi nhớ mấy cái phim GAV á. Nhiều thằng cầm mấy quần lót lên thổi.
That Fr0zen might be holding, but you know, Holy Nova and Black and Corrupted, we know that neither of those cards have been held onto for a particularly long time.
Yeah, XHope here, he took a long time deciding exactly how he wanted to make his plays this turn.
Đang là 1-0 nghiêng về thằng XHope à.
Value of the Bloodlust potentially as a tool to just clear the board. Those two North Shah clerics on the board, these are obviously crucial to Fr0zen's ability to actually build up additional resources over time, and XHope decides to use potentially game-winning Bloodlust, you know, going all the way to the rope, debating this to clear them off ultimately.
You know, one of the things that I also maybe have just thought of is XHope saw that Fr0zen had
bác tiếng nghe có vẻ thích thú à.
So it could be indicative
hay bị thích cái vụ hửi quần lót hả?
Having situational spells such as you know, Shadow Word Death, or
giống mấy thằng
maybe he
DAV
wants to bait out Shadow Word Pain because maybe he wants Brand Bronzebeard to absorb Shadow Word Pain so that Flame Totem can get more value. It's definitely a tricky situation because XHope certainly had a specific read on Fr0zen's hand. It just happened to be the completely wrong read, and then he just got his board swept and almost lost the game because
Ok, chúng ta sẽ tiếp tục với game 2.
There was no dragon because of that
Game thứ hai.
agent, as you mentioned. So he at least had an idea that a corruptor, say a corruptor Nova, is exactly what ended up clearing his board. That was offline unless Fr0zen did draw a dragon that turn. Unfortunately for XHope, he did draw the dragon, so his entire board died. But thanks to the Bloodlust, Fr0zen didn't have those clerics in play in order to gain enough resources to firmly take advantage of the lead he gained that turn.
All right, well, let's get ready to go into game number 2. It is Malygos OTK Druid.
Oh my god.
Miracle Rogue.
OTK rui kìa các bạn ơi. Vỗ tay cho Fr0zen nào. Chúng ta sẽ xem được những cái màn bắn tỉa của Fr0zen. Sniper. Hãy có những cái deck mới vậy đánh nó mới thú vị. Cứ lặp đi lặp lại mấy deck hoài đánh chán. Xem ở trên đó. Để chỉnh lên 720 coi rõ không. Rồi tiếp trên HEARTHSTONE VOD á.
Because Fr0zen's deck is more powerful in a long game and has tools to avoid burst kills that XHope might be looking to do.
Okay.
With, say, Leroy Jenkins, Cold Blood, things like that. So that Edwin makes.
Rồi ok chưa? Chỉnh nhỏ tiếng rồi ok chưa? Má chỉnh cái giờ tắt luôn.
Well, XHope gonna put his faith in the hand and hopefully that he can hit something for turn 3. Otherwise, he's stuck hero powering again. Fr0zen picks up an explosive hand. It's got a lot of potential. He's got up to.
Má có ai nói gì đâu bình luận. Bình luận gì? Bình luận nói về nó thôi không? Ok. Mà đợi xíu đi đang ăn, ăn không rồi. Sorry các bác. Tại vì nãy giờ chưa ăn gì hết với lại mình trực tiếp cho nhanh chút để không bị mất cái thông tin.
Well, he can also innervate out the nourish for next turn.
It is true. He might as well, I suppose, get the value from the Raven at a well. He has it. I actually sort of missed the fact that he had the second innervate to get the nourish as well. I think he was going to need to that out later. But yeah, this is a opening from Fr0zen that XHope really wants to be able to deal with because
giờ nó đâu có spell gì đâu. Nếu mà nó có cái lá mà gây 4 đam thì ngon, là nó được cái con kia là tới 88 lần á. Chém một cái, búp cái, đập một cái, dằn nó lên là 88. Má nghe nha chi ba. Tôi đang ăn mà ngại quá.
I'm really curious why Fr0zen snap picked a Bloodfin Raptor. Surely there were better options. I didn't actually see every.
I believe I saw a Boogie Monster and something else very expensive.
Okay, so he figured these are way too slow to play against the Rogue, and I'm gonna snap pick maybe to mess with my opponent there. I do know that Fr0zen thinks about that kind of stuff.
Mà rất tiếc là nó không có đủ cái spell, nếu nó có spell nó ra con 88 rồi đó. Hơi bị ghê á. Nhưng mà tên sau của thằng Fr0zen hơi bị ngon, vì nó lên cái Innervate á. Innervate xong rồi nó dùng cái Norris. Innervate xong rồi Norris là rất là ngon.
Hilariously,
đó, Norris thấy không?
The Wrath draw is ridiculous here. Innervate into Nourish, draws 3 cards, gives him 2 available mana crystals, which enables the Wrath to kill the Edwin and draw a card. Fr0zen is absolutely in the driver's seat of this game.
And sometimes this happens, Druid is so explosive because of Innervate and
quá ngon rồi.
The best of both worlds.
Bài của Fr0zen xanh quá.
Didn't die, but he still won't.
Tên sao 6 mana. Tên sao 6 mana.
Yeah, the Mark of Nature, not a card we see all that often, but works exceptionally well with Fandral because he can give his minion plus 4, plus 4,
Bắt này chờ
and
trong đập
taunt
kia.
if he wants,
4, 3,
turning Fandral into
2.
a 7/7 that can allow him to take down the Tomb Pillager
Nó có
and
thể,
still keep Fandral on the board.
Búp cái kia.
He could just go ahead and swipe, for instance, but he's more likely to save that for
Rồi.
Malagos. And yeah, we see 7/7
7.
taunt. He can choose to either go face, get the damage in, or clear off the Tomb Pillager. To
Này
protect
chắc đánh
himself
mặt
from
hay là
powerful sap.
chắc nó
But
chạy
he
quá.
hasn't seen
Đánh
the
mặt
sap
luôn.
already. It's very
Đánh mặt
likely
luôn.
that XHope would have sapped Fandral to prevent something like the explosive Nourish turn. So he decides to just get that damage to the face, and again, XHope is in a real rough spot.
And Fr0zen has told us multiple times that this druid is his favorite.
Có âm thanh mà sao không có được?
One of the reasons why it's got a lot of weird things that can happen with things like Innervates and Raven Idols.
Tại chỉnh lên cái độ phân giải cao mà nó đang trực tiếp nên nó load hơi bị chậm mà đúng rồi. Giờ nếu không thì tôi sẽ chỉnh xuống 480.
Play a different game plan, adapt to your opponent's strategy based on the board.
Đang nói bình thường mà ta, sao không có âm thanh được?
Adapt he will. XHope, he's the one who's got to adapt or die. I guess Ungoro came a little bit early. He's seeing dinosaurs chase him. Fandral Stag Helm has somehow used nature to grow to a 7/7 for 4 mana.
We're ready for
3 mana, excuse me.
we're ready for Ungoro here with a raptor head in the wall, actually, right next
Rồi chinh chiến xong
to
rồi.
the caster desk. And Fr0zen has
Giờ
a raptor
tung vấn
too.
đề
He's
chính
ready
này.
for Ungoro. Everyone's ready.
I actually never
Chỉnh độ phân giải cao vậy thì nó hay bị lắc lắm. Hay bị lắc lắm, nó coi nó không có mượt.
I think.
mounted on.
Yeah, I'm really scared of what Queen Cassiva or whatever it was finding out that we killed one of her brood and mounted it on the wall of the caster area.
In due time, she'll get her revenge.
Nếu các bạn thích mượt thì chỉnh xuống khoảng 480. Mà hồi nãy có bạn nào la là nó bị mờ. Mà để cao vậy thế, lâu lâu nó bị lắc, bị giật. Chịu thôi chứ sao giờ. Không, đâu có âm thanh game đâu. Chỉ có âm thanh của thằng bình luận viên nói chuyện thôi. Âm thanh của bạn bình luận viên nói chuyện và âm thanh của tôi. Hai cái.
So I like setting up a questing here. Your opponent just used swipe. It's a little bit hard to remove both the questing and the Tomb Pillager. And Fr0zen, he does have ways to remove, but it's a little inefficient. I wonder what he's
Lên còn 44.
gonna be thinking of here.
Yeah, Fr0zen has a lot of mana available. You know, with the Nourish, he's up to 9 mana. Wild Growth as well. Finds a Feral Rage. So now he has several removal options, as well as the ability to potentially just develop an Azure Drake and remove. He clearly is going to kill the Questing Adventure. The Questing Adventure is by far the biggest threat here.
Chắc chắn là tên này nó siết cái con quét rồi đó. Không để được. Để được đáng nữa là mệt lắm.
Because Swipe is pretty valuable. It is one of his burn spells later in the game, potentially with Malagos. And he would love to get a turn that he can just set up and draw some.
Khi nào mọi người nghỉ rồi tôi nghĩ.
This turn he plays, say, Azure Drake and Feral Rage, or Azure Drake and Swipe. And then next turn he has the ability to play Gadgetzan plus Mulch. You can even just Gadgetzan Mulch this turn, but that only draws him a single card, and Fr0zen can, rather XHope can easily deal with the Gadgetzan. But at the same time, you know, how much farther does Fr0zen feel like he needs to dig? How quickly does he feel like he needs to dig?
And it also depends on what he feels like this play indicates. Questing coin Tomb Pillager. Is he trying to all in me, you know, passively without trying to give away his hand?
Yeah, this play from Fr0zen, I think, makes it look like he's trying to do exactly what I mentioned before, trying to get the Gadgetzan plus Mulch removal spell the following turn. Wants to play his Azure Drake where he gets the target from it and either demands removal or a trade.
BO7 đó là bánh 1 tiếng mấy rồi.
Trade.
Nếu mà hai thằng đánh đủ 7 trận á. Mỗi thằng đánh đủ 7 trận hết.
Might be
tiếng mấy
the
á.
way you win. I don't think this Tomb Pillager can generate the difference between Eviscerate and your
Ok,
opponent's
không
life.
có
Right now
chi.
you got 5
Bác
plus the 8 in hand. So
Nguyễn
you have a dagger somewhere in there.
gì? Nguyễn
You're
Vinh Huy.
still pretty short
Nguyễn Huy
from
Vinh.
killing your opponent. You need 9 more damage to follow it up.
Yeah, XHope would really love to have just
Chủ yếu là bây giờ hiện tại là mạng cáp đang bị đứt nên ai cũng bị lắc hết á. Cáp Việt Nam này đang bị đứt. Ai cũng lắc hết á.
He can't really remove this and protect his Tomb Pillager and develop anything. He could just sap. Sap is totally an option here, but Fr0zen does have other big minions like an Ancient of War in his deck that'd be very difficult for XHope to get through if he were to use his sap here. Yeah, just going to go ahead and trade it in. So he wants to get the Gadgetzan chain rolling.
He has 5 good draws here with counterfeit coins, preparation.
But he doesn't have much time. The rope is burning. He
There
finds
it is.
prep.
He needs to use it very quick. He wants to pick up Conceal as well. Swashbuckler, he waited too long. He's going to end his turn on his terms, but you never know what was going to be drawn
Did
here.
he even use the last 2 mana?
I think he did. Toss a second Eviscerate.
Okay, he did, yes.
And a huge sign of desperation. I think Fr0zen has a good understanding of what the hand entails. You know, it was definitely a little bit useless, but now with Gadgetzan drawing new cards, Fr0zen has to be feeling pretty good right now, because it seemed like XHope didn't have an actual game plan to kill him.
Thật sự là nếu mà có hệ thống BA kìa nó mới phát triển được, chứ không ai BA thì không phát triển được đâu. Giống như Liên minh điện thoại á, Liên minh điện thoại nó có nhàn hệ thống BA rất là hùng hậu luôn nên nó phát triển chứ nghĩ sao vậy? Tại HEARTHSTONE này nó chưa có hùng hậu ở Việt Nam nên vậy thôi.
But he's already dealt so much damage to XHope that he doesn't need to absolutely maximize his burn because of how much he was able to do with that early Fandral. Oh, there's the Conceal a turn later.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have a second Auctioneer into the deck. XHope can pull out patches as well to make sure Barnes has an even higher chance of doing that. You can also just lead off with Swashbuckler. There might be a really good
Kèo này căng.
You know, Swipe for example from Druid.
Bây giờ chỉ có thể nó có thể là Rocket cũng được, nhưng mà chắc chắn nó phải giết cái thằng hoặc là nó phải shop cái thằng Gadgetzan. Nó không làm gì thằng Gadgetzan là mệt lắm, tên sau nó Rocket hoài luôn á.
Swashbuckler finds Swashbuckler. That is not a nice result.
I feel like that's like the only card that would not impact the board.
Mọi người muốn để cái độ phân giải này coi hay là để cái độ phân giải độ phân giải hơi mờ chút mà nó không giật.
And the other Swashbuckler, he could hit another Auctioneer, could have hit an Azure Drake.
Even like Leroy has just a charge minion.
Yeah.
Is more.
Mọi người thấy sao?
The patches, of course.
Coon! He took Fr0zen's card!
Oh!
That's actually kind of hilarious.
Nó cướp được lá cool nó mới ghê chứ.
Yeah, that's really... What? So he can play all these spells with the... I guess he can just gain armor, which might be effective.
And there's the Ancient of War. If Fr0zen decides that he wants to go defensive here, the Ancient can be pretty powerful. But I think there's a reasonable chance that we just...
nãy nó không chịu.
Auctioneer and just swipe the board away.
480. Nó đỡ dắt hơn.
Especially with the spell damage from the Blood Mage Thalnos.
And you know one of those cards is a random Druid card, so chances are it's pretty weak. I was a little baffled or befuddled, Brian, because I was expecting patches, and I just realized XHope doesn't have patches in his deck. So
is he free to play, by the way?
Bài bên kia của Fr0zen khó đó ha. Khó nghĩ quá ha.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
And 2 preparations.
Bây giờ nó có thể lên cái thằng Gadgetzan xong rồi quét chết 2 con này. Đó là biện pháp hữu hiệu nhất để không có minion trên bàn. Tại tên sau nếu mà có búp đam thì rất là mệt mỏi. Rồi. Tôi nghĩ là chỉ còn cách đó hoặc là cách khác, muốn làm gì làm, hoặc là để con đi Anivia lên xong rồi để con tâu lên 5-10 lên, để con tâu 5-10 lên. Đó là một cách khác.
He's going for just the raw stats, and right now he's right.
Yeah, it looks like it very well may pay off here. As,
em lên cái HEARTHSTONE VOD á, là nó ra lên YouTube sạch HEARTHSTONE VOD. Rồi Miracle rồi, kiểu này là thọt rồi, nát. Giờ gan 10 mana xong rồi Rocket tiếp. Rocket. Leroy đắng rồi. Má xong rồi, má tên sao Aviana còn sống mà xong rồi. Nhớ tuần sau Vienna sống là nát rồi. Má hết chuyện để con này sống là thua. Tuần sau nó lên con lên gã gen xong rồi nó diệt cái con 77 này. Ủa nó tàng hình luôn. Lên gã gen xong rồi nó ro cạt tiếp. Nó bắn tỉa chắc chết. Nó ra Marigot nó bắn tỉa là chết. Nó quẹt cái không chết. Má bệnh luôn.
And Fr0zen is going to tie up the series 1-1, nabbing that win with his favorite deck, the Malygos Coon Druid.
And this is a matchup that could have been tough for him. This is a matchup where if XHope gets going quickly, Fr0zen
rồi đủ đam luôn.
will be under too much pressure to assemble his combo, but he's able to get in the board with it, and we got a tied series.
Rồi một điều. Một điều thưa các bạn. Và chúng ta bỏ cái ly rất là xa luôn nha. Bây giờ sẽ kéo tới cái ly trước. Đây cái ly. Tỷ số bây giờ đang là 1-1 nha.
Often, but being very candid in front of the camera, I actually do appreciate that. A lot of players say, you know what, I was nervous, just, you know, it happens, whatever. But he's saying, you know, this never happens, and I kind of fell succumb to it too.
Yeah,
Fr0zen nó tính mà mặt nó tỉnh luôn ha.
We saw them in the playroom yesterday. They're here today still, but they're too nervous to watch him play today.
Bây giờ ngồi ở cái vị trí đó đâu phải dở đâu.
Avoid watching, not because they don't support Fr0zen. I mean, they flew all the way out here to the Bahamas, but because they really want him to win that badly. Fr0zen's going to turn to the Dragon Priest, you know, a deck that's again still kind of fallen deeper into the abyss.
Babel hả? Babel như hôm nay chưa biết. Nói chung là nó sẽ đánh bảng ở dưới.
In losses, but I think that largely has to do with a lot of player. We've seen some people kind of bobble those freeze mage play.
Rồi chúng ta sẽ có Dragon Rid và Miracle Root tiếp.
Fr0zen, one of clearly the top players in the world with the results that he's put up over the past couple of years, as he admitted in that piece we saw.
Cả hai bây giờ đem hai cái deck mà nãy thua ra phục hận. Fr0zen nó đem cái deck Dragon nãy thua ra phục hận, thằng này đem Miracle ra phục hận.
Focus is another thing too. The ability to have the endurance to stay sharp the entire time and keep track of what's going on. You know, I talked to a couple of players even just this morning and yesterday night. They said, I just can't concentrate after a certain point because I've been tracking for 2 hours and we still have another 2 games to play.
I mean, we started the broadcast yesterday at 10 a.m. We were not done until nearly midnight. It was after 11 p.m. Many of these players had been here much of that time, so definitely takes a lot of focus to keep your composure and keep being able to pay attention.
Miracle Root hả? Miracle Root cũng hơi bị nhiều nha.
No patches, man.
He drew his patches.
Yes.
Tính sơ nó coi nó có bao nhiêu lá lần dần.
He drew too many times prior to the tournament.
It's kind of like Green Sheep. Green Sheep said patches is
3 lá
his
lần dần.
favorite and least favorite card.
Tính sơ nó có 3 lá lần dần rồi đó.
The day before deck submission. I mean, in all seriousness, I think there's some argument for not including patches in a deck that is as focused on spells.
Con 1-3 nó khó chịu ha. 1-3 của Rid á, đặt ra mà gặp mấy con 1-1 này dễ chịu anh. Tìm mọi cách để chay cho nó chết, để không nó sẽ ro cạt.
Numbers to back up what's your win rate, including patches. What's your win rate that doesn't include patches? Interestingly, Fr0zen's rogue deck, by the way, does not include patches either, but it doesn't include Swashbuckler. So once you include Swashbuckler, it's a very small cost to include patches. But if you're not playing Swashbuckler, obviously you're not going to include patches.
Yeah, instead Fr0zen shows, you know, dead people.
Một là chay, hai để nguyên trong kia ro cạt. Đâu có đường nào khác đâu.
Really thinking about if he wants to remove this Northshire Cleric, because you know sometimes you're saying, okay, if the Cleric.
Không, nó sợ ro cạt lắm, nên tụi nó phải chay.
Really care too much if they're drawing a card. In this case, he does. Even saving the Swashbuckler.
Yeah, I was gonna say, interesting note there. He chooses not to play his Swashbuckler here, and that, I think, perhaps is a nod to his Questing Adventurer or his Eviscerate. He wants to be able to combo his Eviscerate next turn.
Miracle Root làm gì có Malygos ông nội.
Exactly what Fr0zen does play.
And he has even better play with the prep.
Miracle Root đâu chơi Malygos.
Pick up the prep means that this is the magic number 4.
Malygos là cái death rác, là cái death khác nữa chứ không phải là.
Clear this off. Fr0zen now, he's got 2 Shadow Deaths, but like we said, the magic number there.
Má mệt rồi á. Mệt rồi nha, cái tên này là không thể sử dụng được cái Shadow Word ban luôn. Shadow Death cũng không xài được luôn. cái giữa lần trận 4 á, nó không có xài được cái gì hết á. Mà tên sau để sống là hơi bị mệt đó nha. Con này để sống là hơi mệt đó. Nhưng mà nếu mà lên 5 attack là cái kia có thể diệt được rồi.
A couple of good hits here from Barnes if he gets another questing adventure, that'd be really powerful. Even just card draw, like a Blood Mage Naus.
What do you think about just attacking?
Oh, and not trying to buff your
playing
questing
any cards, because your opponent just said go on, you know, a 3-minute turn. If your opponent next turn plays, say, Twilight Guardian, which is their best play on turn 4, you then play Barnes and Swashbuckler, which can attack into and kill their Twilight Guardian, and then you are able to get value out of that rather than having it die to Shadow of Death.
Vì số 4 nó nằm ở giữa, số 4 nằm ở giữa 5 với 3, nó không có tiêu diệt được.
At this level of play, players are calculating, okay, well, what does it mean about my opponent's hand that this is what happened here?
The only thing that I don't like about that is that your follow-up play after you just leave Barnes in your hand is not nearly as strong.
Làm gì lâu với trời. Nó chỉ có bao nhiêu đường đánh đâu.
So he can play Barnes plus Swashbuckler that turn.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, he can save Barnes for Swashbuckler, and then guarantee snipe the Twilight Guardian.
Yeah,
nó muốn bảo toàn cái số 4 đó luôn nên nó không lên cái gì nữa hết. Thằng này hơi bị ghê.
You possibly thought about a good idea.
Apologies, Brian. I'm not very good with words.
But the Memphis historian for Fr0zen here finds the fairy.
Châu Huỳnh Di Anh,
This is a game that you're under a lot of pressure already. It's kind of a stretch to take the 9 or 10 minute dragons here.
Yeah, I mean, Nefarian could get spells, but we also know that there's a handful of useless spells for this matchup.
Con 10, 12, 12 chậm quá. 988 cũng được. Hay là lấy con 1, 2, 3.
Gang up, for example, just like, well, what are you going to do with that card? Twilight Whelp is also a dragon, you know, to just keep as a really cheap tempo play and be able to help enable things too. So you're able to get everything else.
Rồi cho nên nó đợi thêm tên nữa.
Now XHope decides
nó không đợi.
To go in. Oh, he finds Auctioneer, but advantage of it. But he could try.
Ngon ra cái con kia luôn, ngon vãi.